to Heart Happy Hour, Season 5. I'm Precious Mother Love. I'm hoping that you're going to hang with me for the ride. I'm on my way to another part of town, and I'll be conducting some Love plus Art equals Wellness business. And I got a few things to talk about. Okay, I have talked over the years about my 911, but I don't think that I gave it the right chronological lead up, So I want to go back. I want to start with that I have had, premonitions, visions, forecasts, downloads, callings, missions, what do you call those, quests? And I have, been very much following them in ways that over the years has turned into, a way of life, being flexible enough, being open enough, being welcoming enough, accepting, allowing for my senses to pick up on things and for me to decide, to trust the instinct, to trust the inner knowing, to trust the inner goddess of myself. So on 911, the original catastrophe that happened, the night before, just before, I was given an insight, an inkling. I was having some sort of vision or premonition that said, don't go to New York today, because every Tuesday I was going to New York and doing some taking care of some business every Tuesday religiously. A deacon from my church and myself would go to New York, take care of that business. We'd arrive there around, I want to say 9 o'clock, but sometimes we tried 8:30 so that we could be at the door of the place as they opened around 9. And so we would ride by the Twin Towers. And so, and I've taken a couple of well, I was gonna say I've taken, my daughter and her girlfriends with us. And we recently met back up with one of those young ladies that took that trip with us. Grown woman she is, but in any case, so I was following the inkling and that which said, don't go to New York, go to the unemployment office. I was TCB at the moment. I was taking care of business. I didn't need unemployment, didn't want unemployment. But following the spirit, I got up, I went in. And as I went in, and I'm not sure, it wasn't like, they opened at 9, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't walk in at 9. It was closer to 9:30. I want to say what I saw was live, was happening live, but I cannot be certain. I just, because a few moments after that broadcast, which what I saw live, what I saw on the prompter as I walked into the unemployment office, not wanting to, but following the spirit, because things were happening at that point where I'd say, oh, if I'm supposed to be, my parking space is out front, and my parking space would be out front, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be here. Things like that on the regular were happening. If I'm supposed to, hook up with this and that and the other, this and that and the other will happen. Oh, so a phone call, an email, a letter, a text, anything, something, and those little things kept happening. So at that point, I was trusting the spirit. I was like, okay, follow the leader, and when I say leader, I mean, I think my higher self is in position to register all of the data and determine, without my mulling it over kind of way, not to say instant, but in a wise way, tapping on my higher self, or tapping into my higher self. So anyway, so I got this inkling, go to the unemployment office, went to the unemployment office, walked through the door. As I walked through the door, I'm seeing the face of the towers crumbling. And I say face because what I saw come out of it, and this is what I saw as I walked in the door, I saw this face like the devil, like, coming through the smoke, or, being emulated into the smoke or by the smoke or whatever. Looked like a movie to me. Looked like some movie that, can you imagine if that was, the set of a movie and they actually staged that whole thing? And, instead of there being stunt doubles and that's crazy. The whole world's a stage. So knowing that the whole world is a stage, knowing that I got a premonition. What am I? Am I tapped into the director's cut or something? So anyway, so I got this premonition not to go where I normally would go, which is the center of what was about to happen. I would have been caught up in the middle because I know, first off, I was only a few blocks away from that area of the towers. I know that we were regularly riding by them, pointing them out to other people if they were riding with us, because we were coming from Baltimore up to New York. And so the folks that we were, almost like we did a little bit of a tour, because we knew our way. We had been, and if you go back and look, I believe it did happen on a Tuesday, and I say that out loud with the confidence of not knowing that I looked it up. I didn't look it up, but I remember it was a Tuesday like the back of my hand. So anyway, so after the fact, and since then, I have had premonitions or forecasts or insights or downloads or, access to the director's cut to tell me when tsunamis were coming. I'm not exactly sure when my first one occurred, but I do know when my brother Ronald had a car accident. I woke up from my sleep holding my head. My grandma said I was screaming. I went back to sleep after my grandma had coached me back to sleep. At the time I was in my 20s though, but I was at my grandmother. The episode when my brother had a car accident, and 45 minutes later my mom called and said my brother had been in a car accident. And I said, did he hit his head? And she says, I don't know, but they helivaced him, blah blah blah, the rest of the details. And so that was what I thought was the first time that I recognized that something correlated in my dream to a specific incident with a family member or someone that I'm familiar with. Because at this point, I think I'm supposed to be in there, but at this point, I hadn't had some of the other. There have been a lot of occurrences over time. What came first, the chicken or the egg? I think I'm going straight. What came, so I don't know, if the dream came first, or even if the dream wasn't a dream, but some download, some data collection, interpretation, receiving, some sort of communication that allowed me to be able to recognize what was about to happen. I mean, there was a time when my grandmother fell down the steps and her hip was in bed, on bed rest, and I dreamt that happened, and I called her, and then she, after 30 minutes of chatting and not telling me, I told her about my dream, and she says, yeah, that did happen. So, in any case, what I'm saying that happened on that 911 that continues to happen with additional accuracy. I recently was listening to a couple of different guests that Magic 363 had up. They were talking about this Radiohead thing, and with also what's his name, Rod Hayes as well, as the two guests that he's had this week, 2 different nights. He's had Juju, or no, that's Juju is my girlfriend, but Ju, and anyway, all of this is leading up to where I've been as far as the recognition of some things that have been, lining up with or resembling or resonating with me as I am, reviewing the years because, my solar return is this coming Sunday. This coming, and what the year I was born, was on a Sunday as well. So it's kind of like a really, really special one for me because I am getting so much meat and potatoes. I'm chomping. I mean, my gut, my belly is full. I'm bursting at the seams, wanting to talk about some things. But what keeps happening is, I end up those seeds end up germinating within me, and so I end up growing to what could be considered like the next levels or whatever. Growing to the next stage, the next phase, the next plateau, the next level, whatever. And I think I need to turn down this air, which is actually helping the phone to not overheat. But I know it made a difference as far as what you could hear. So, but what I'm saying is that, I feel like I have been a little more finely tuned this season. And, I know that it has a lot to do with, first off, my solar return is always very near a full moon, if not on a full moon. My solar return was normally, and for years, my cycle, my menstrual cycle was synced up with the full moon. So I man to study the science of self, SOS, and I heard recently that SOS actually means something else. But of course, I say science of self, whatever else it means. I can't take that energy away. I can only add the energy that I would like and desire if interpreted in what I am expressing. Anyway, let's go back. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep chomping at the big nuggets of things that's going on with me. So yeah, so I have been seeing some things in advance, forecasting some things over the years, recognizing some things as my solar return continues to be a time of review, be a time of, might be rewriting revision, because I do recall last year this time, well, a month before this time, because I started celebrating a month before, and I celebrated till a month after. You think, I ended up going exactly where I needed to be. I was following the little breadcrumbs. I was like, I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that. I wanted to put my GPS on. I was like, don't do that. Don't stop the flow. Keep going down. But anyway, yes, ended up right where I wanted. And this is high. These people look so familiar these days. So, but in any case, I am really finding it very valuable to learn and pay attention to my sensitivities. The skin being the largest organ. I thought about this the other day. The skin being, oh, that guy's gonna take that. I'm not gonna bustle and fuss over nothing. This is a very, very well attended parking area, and I'm going to put myself in position of wait and see, and give me a chance to finish what I'm doing. So yeah, so I get to a place these days where I am looking at everything at a bigger and bigger and broader scale and level. So the world, okay, so if our skin is the largest organ, and if you look at the earth, what covers the earth, the face of the earth, certain things pop out on the surface because of what's going on underneath. And so, that's the same thing. I would say the same thing for our skin. Like for what's going on underneath, there's a lot of things that are popping out. And in particular, our hair follicles, like the insects have all these hairs. Like, they say our head has these are antennas, you know. Well, that does mean that these antennas that are all over the face of our skin as is antennas, I don't know, maybe, the way they're rooted, perhaps they're the trees, because I believe that the trees have a very prominent place in the earth's energy of being healed, or being, they breathe and do the exchange of the gases that help and align. Oh, I see a really good place now, space, and I'm gonna take that bad boy. Oh my goodness. And look, I'm parked right next to the people that I did not necessarily want to necessarily be. It's a vehicle that's just like mine, but in any case. All right, so this is a temporary moment. And sorry for having to pay so much attention to the other things around me. We are in our space for a hot second, and we will continue and complete this thought. So the skin and the hair. So the hair, when we sneeze and it goes, when we're, I believe to some degree that might be because we're exceeding our boundaries. Like, when I do this inside breath, when I do when I expand my breath and expand my lungs, and it fills up both chambers. It's as though, when you sneeze or when you hiccup, or it doesn't happen so much when you hiccup or when you yawn. But in any case, it feels like, I just said the word yard, right? But it feels like we're exceeding our boundaries. We're oh, okay, okay. That wasn't a test, but that actually happened. That the hairs on my arms, when I decided to emulate what a sneeze was and what it can do to the body. So I was pushing my edges, and so I felt the hair follicles actually were impacted, or disturbed, or whatever, moved by that move, by exceeding my boundaries in that way. And I don't know if I could ever do that again. I wonder, could I? But I just did. And this is how things happen. Sometimes happens so naturally that I'm like, I don't even think through the fact that it's going to work or it's not going to work, or this is just an example, or this is it. I don't even know how they always I just know that when I tune into the extra of me, it's such a natural progression. This is why I like to do these conversations while I am on the road, because then just the natural me comes out. But also, the reason why I don't want to do that while I'm driving, and I'm glad I did pull over, is because sometimes I get so caught up into, the cloud, because I consider myself, sometimes I have done this GPS thing before. When I was on a mountain one time in the different states, I mean, different counties of Maryland, I think it's 23 or something. Anyway, I went through all the different counties, and I was doing a census survey with a company that was related to cigarettes and whatever. So anyway, so I was in every county in the state, and a lot of times there was no GPS signal. There was no, and at that point it was the Garmin that I had sitting on the dashboard that I was using, and it wasn't even on my phone yet. That's how far back this happened. But back then, at that time, I would tap into the GPS in me. Like, I knew where I was going, didn't know where I was going, but I was somehow, just like just now, I swear to goodness, I did not know where I was going, but I knew, based on the little breadcrumbs, just based on the little glimpses of things. I'm like, I've seen that before. I think I'm on the right track. And in this case, yes, I have been on this route before, but man, I just be glimpsing up here and there because I'm following the GPS. Well, today I'm glad I didn't follow the GPS. I'm glad I followed my internal instinctive compass, my global positioning system. And so I do know that I've also done something of a web search as well, where I had seen I had seen yes, I know the people that are next to me are thinking I need to maybe speak as they get out. But I really was having difficulty with new places being as comfortable and at ease. Um, but it ended up being I just all things went to the wind, all afterthoughts, all forethoughts, all 2020. It was I just it was follow like when you're playing cards, right? And you got your cards, you don't know what they got, but you forecasting that this is going to happen, right? So I just forecast I'm gonna get there, and then and that's not always the right way to say it. I mean, you know, I'm kind of okay. So some if I'm doing something that I was listening to last night and resonated with me, that Juju, I'm sorry, night before, which was I think on the 10th, because on the 11th is when I actually looked at it. But they were talking about getting into that the cloud that there was some we have some influence. And I know I even listened to an Arabic meditation, because they said one was, let me see, the Hebrew had to do with let me see, Arabic had to do with the sound, and Hebrew had to do with, was it the form of the letters or the math of it? Anyway, music, math, I don't know. I do recall that there was a difference, and that's why I took two. And I was like, okay, I could see that we probably have something more in Arabic. But anyway, I met this lady who actually interprets into Hebrew. Her home language was, the language that she became a interpreter for was Hebrew. And it was such a wonderful time that I've had over the past 6 7 months, since February. I have been in a group of people, the Landmark Forum, a seminar, and I have actually made some strides with some things that I have pulled the plug on. I decided to make some adjustments for this solar energies and information that I think, I call it downloads. I call it uh uh is it streaming? I think I be streaming sometimes. I do my sun gazing, and I have recognized some things more and more intensely, more and more clearly, more and more connected. So all I want to do is just wrap this up real quick and just say, the more I recognize my own signs and symbols, like things that happen to me in my dreams, are signs to me. They mean something to me. I can interpret them because I have, the keys, the cosmic keys that are what is that connecting me to. And I'm steadily and more seeing the dots leading up to where my footsteps are and where they're going from here. Like on the Michael Jackson album, or that video where he was stepping at it was lighting up. I feel like the light is under my feet as I walk, as I as the path is lit because of my am I saying my divine presence? Because I am bringing the sacred artistry to that environment. I am a sacred arts curator, Precious Mother Love, and I tap into and I assist with spiritual growth through your creative artistry. So look me up sometime, like, subscribe, share, Precious Mother Love, love plus art equals wellness. Hope I shared a lesson that you've learned something from. Keep connected, stay connected, connect the dots, learn about yourself, and keep, keep an eye on your oneness. That's the balance of it all. Is you want to stay in touch with the all enough to be a part of the all and a part of the number, but also recognizing that those pieces and parts that are around you are also affected by your presence. And the more you live in love, the more your life is lived in loveliness. So that's my lifestyle. That's the way I live. Love plus art equals wellness. Heart Happy Hour, Season 5. Precious Mother Love. No music today, but I hope you caught some seeds and some kernels. Ashe. Am I going to be on here before my birthday, before my solar return? Coming back to you live on my solar return. I said it, doing it. See you Sunday. Ashe.